What up, Rap Leaders? Welcome back to my channel. We are in Pattinson right now. Pattinson on the East Coast. The building we're looking at is the Arthur Chung Convention Center, but it's right next door to Pasha Global 5-Star Hotel and Resort. Just did an update on Pasha. You can go take a look at that video, which I just posted, and showed you what's happening here. This is the widening of the railway road. I'm actually walking on railway road, and they've actually widened a section of the railway road up to Conversation Tree Road. But out here, they're still working on widening the culvert. So showed you that in the last video. They're widening the culvert out here. The next village, of course, is Lilliendal, and I'm standing now in Pattinson, opposite the entrance to the National Aquatic Center. This is the National Aquatic Center. This is a swimming pool that is built for, I guess, clubs and athletes. The way swimming pools work in Guyana, you don't have access to this swimming pool unless you are part of a swimming team. But it has produced some good swimmers in the last couple of years or so since it's been operating, and it shows there's need for a lot more private and public pools in Guyana to build out the swimming talent in Guyana. But that's the National Aquatic Center. I've actually never been there. I had planned to start a swim team when I first came back to Guyana 12 years ago. 13 now? No, 12 years ago. But I found it extremely tedious dealing with the bureaucracy, and decided I'm going to build my own golf courses, tennis courts, and swimming pools for what was then the Blueberry Sports Club, Tennis and Golf Club. That is still on the back burner. It's one of the 20 businesses that I've started since I came back. Some of them are on hold. Sometimes you just have to wait for the right time to execute. Like now is the right time to execute the university and the imaging center, which I've been mentioning in previous videos, and which I will bring you updates on in my on my business channel. Right, but this is the entrance to the Arthur Chung Convention Center, and that, of course, is also next door to the Caricom headquarters. Well, we've seen that in previous videos, so I've shown you this neighborhood. Last time, I guess, was when I visited the Giftland Mall. Since then, I think there was a notorious robbery at Giftland Mall. One of their very own security guards held up the casino. I guess there's a gaming room at Giftland. So he actually held up the cashiers and stole something like $30 million, as I recall. That was in the news. But that's how notorious theft and robbery and gangsterism is in Guyana right now. And it's not since the country has been growing financially, economically. It's actually before then. Guyana was always known for its robbery on the arms, choke and robbery. So it's something that has to be addressed culturally. This is the headquarters of Caricom here at Pattinson. And of course, down the back, I just passed the other entrance, but down at the back, there's an entrance to that gated community called Demerara Estates. But what we want to do is to see the new developments here in Pattinson and Turkine. The next village over is called Turkine. So I wanted to see what is being built. And I think the last time we were here, I showed you that there were some new housing developments, multi-unit condominiums being built. So I'm heading over there now to see how far they've come with that. But while we're in this neck of the woods, I thought I'd show you what's happening here at the Caricom headquarters. This is the headquarters of Caricom, Caribbean Community Secretariat. I think Jamaica, the Prime Minister of Jamaica now has the chairmanship of Caricom, Caribbean Common Market, Caribbean Community. I don't think it's going to happen, but I think it would make sense at some point to have a common currency in the Caribbean to combat the wicked inflation. But of course, each CARICOM country resists the idea because they don't want to give up their sovereignty and autonomy over their economy. But for those of you who are constantly in the comments telling me that Guyana is not a Caribbean country, here's the question for you. Why is the headquarters of the CARICOM Secretariat, the Caribbean Community Secretariat, why is that headquarters located in Guyana if Guyana is not a Caribbean country? Some of you brilliant scholars from Trinidad and Jamaica and wherever else you are, who are always in the comments trolling, answer that question for me, and then we will continue to have a discussion about whether or not Guyana is a member of CARICOM or a Caribbean country. Now, this is the further widening of the railway road at Turkine. So for some reason, they skipped Liliendal. Well, they skipped Pattinson, widening of the road in Pattinson, but they're continuing to widen the road beyond Pattinson. So they're doing it, I guess, in sections. And this is a section through Turkine. The road is, I guess, being widened. They built out this, I think, retaining wall. I think this is another potential access road into Turkine. But yes, they built out this retaining wall. I'm going to show you what's happening up here. They've built out this retaining wall and the drain. And now they're building out the shoulder of the road and widening it. So I think during recent times there was an incident that resulted in the collapse of these lampposts that they're putting in, and that resulted in huge blackouts in this area. GPL had to respond because the construction, I guess, the construction of this railway road damaged the light poles, GPL light poles, and then caused the blackout. But that's what's happened here since the last time we were here. This building is now being rented by, I guess, SBN, the shore base company that works for contracts for ExxonMobil. But why we're here in this neck of the woods is to see what is happening here with housing development. I showed you, I think, last year, or at least much earlier this year, what's happening with the build out of multi-unit condominiums at, what's that, Oleander Gardens. Well, that's the backside of Movie Town. We'll take a look at that too in a minute. But although Oleander Gardens is leading the way in terms of multi-unit high-rise condominiums, some other neighborhoods are not very far behind. This is one of them, right? This is one of those neighborhoods. It's not very far behind. And They're building what appears to be low-rise condominiums. This is an L-shaped structure. It seems to have several units. Right now it's behind some green fabric to protect, I guess, the community from construction debris. But I can see here on the roof of the building, there are workers. So it's an ongoing. I can see also in the inside, I don't know if you can see it from this video, but there are workers on this Saturday morning working on the construction of this building. It seems as if it is located at this southeastern corner of the property, which suggests to me that they're probably going to put more buildings in, more structures into the complex, because there's a lot of space left to build out our complex. All right, that's the back entrance to Massey stores. Actually, I'm probably gonna take a walk inside. And this, of course, is the Royal Castle outlet here in the complex in the parking lot of Movie Town. Morning. So this here is the new condominium complex that's being built here in this case, Pattinson. In fact, across the street is Pattinson. Where I'm standing is Turkine. That's the boundary. These neighborhoods remind me of Long Island. There are all these tiny villages grouped together. If you live on Long Island, you know what I'm talking about. So there are these two condominium buildings that are being built here. All right, these are the two structures that are being built here at Pattinson. And from what I can see, there's a lot of activity going on inside, behind these green fabric. But as you can see, there are two separate buildings. All right, there are two separate buildings. That is one long row of multi-unit condominium buildings. And this is another row of multi-unit condominium buildings. And like I said, that is the new trend. Now, it is true that you can get a lot more residents into higher density residential buildings such as multi-unit condominiums. But in a society that prefers to have backyards and their own property, this is still a hard sell, because most Guyanese want to have their own house lot. So I guess this is a trend that will take some time to catch on, but with the growing economy and the growing demand for land and property, I think it will take some time. This is new. So now they have a billboard. So there's the billboard showing you what the properties will look like once they're completed. And there's a name. So it's Turkine Condominiums. All right, Turkine Condominiums. And that shows, I guess, a picture of what those buildings will look like, those condos will look like once they're completed. And I guess the name of the builder is on the billboard, although I can't read it from this location. But yes, guys, this is what is happening here at Turkine and Pattinson with the construction of new homes, new condos in Guyana. And like I said, it seems to me that they're going to build a lot more of these if they're to fill that property. right? That complex is quite large and these buildings are quite small. So my guess is they're going to put a lot more of these buildings onto that property by the time it's completed. But that's what's happening here, guys. That's what's happening here at Pattinson and Turkine. This is the backside of the movie town. I still haven't given you a tour of movie town, but apparently they have KFC. They have a number of eating houses, another number of dining restaurants. There's Brewster's ice cream shop. There is a cafe. What is that? The Quality. Quality has a cafe over here. And more recently, Starbucks. Starbucks has added an outlet here in the parking lot of the movie town. And of course, that's Massey stores. Massey stores. I think they might be. Are they open? It's kind of early now. It's about 7 a.m. in the morning. So I'm not so sure if Massey stores are open or the Starbucks place. Morning. Starbucks open? Okay, so that's what's happening, guys. That's what's happening in this neck of the woods. The next neighborhood is Turkine, right? Turkine. And you can see there is a lot of land for development. My guess is that there are going to be a lot of new housing developments in this neck of the woods because, well, development, right? Because development. So we're going to look out for what else is being built in this neck of the woods. Where this is Movie Town, this is Starbucks drive-through. We're just walking in the drive-through area right now, and that is Movie Town building, which I am yet to give you a tour of, but we will get there eventually. So that's what's happening in this neck of the woods, guys. That's the new developments here in Pattinson and Turkine, building out of the widening of the railway road, building out of new condominiums. Now we know that one is called Turkine Condominiums. And this is Movie Town. Movie Town is also undergoing some construction. I think there was a fire here or something some time ago. MG Motors, which now is owned by a Chinese company. They have a display. Massey are displaying MG Motors vehicles. I guess they are the local distributor for MG in Guyana. MG, famous British brand, of course, now owned by Chinese investors. This is the kids' Ferris wheel. And a kids, I think, theme park with rides at the front of Movie Town. So some construction going on here at Movie Town. I think they're repurposing one of the restaurants that recently closed. Don't remember which one it was. But yeah, that's Movie Town. This swinger on the top floor. And I think somebody else is building in a new restaurant here. There's Movie Town. Yes, guys, so that's what's happening. Oh, somebody was saying they should replace the trees in Georgetown with palm trees. I think that's a good idea. Palm trees are more well behaved than the trees they have planted on the avenue, some of which are actually dying from disease and having to be cut down. So it does make sense to plant palm trees and coconut trees here in the tropics. But that's what's up, guys. That's what's happening in this neck of the woods. We're back at the East Coast Road. Rupert Craig Highway, where we started. And I'm going to turn back at this point and continue my morning run back to the city. But at that intersection, that is with Turkine, that was where the fatal accidents happened earlier in the week. The three vehicle collision. Testament always reminding me why I don't drive in Guyana. But yes, this is Movie Town here at Turkine. If you want to see more content like this, you want to hear more about the developments happening in Guyana, click like and subscribe. Remember, you can also subscribe to my other channels. I haven't been posting content on those channels, but I will eventually get around to it, particularly now that the businesses are taking off. On my business channel, you will be able to see developments that I'm making, progress I'm making with building out of $20 billion companies, 20 unicorn companies, one of which is the Georgetown Biomedical University and the LBS Imaging Center. The reason why those are billion-dollar companies is because they're scalable. Right? They're scalable to the globe. In other words, once I've built out those companies in the Caribbean, in Guyana and the Caribbean, I'm probably going to move to Africa and Asia and open further campuses over there. So that's why they're billion-dollar companies. But I'll talk about that and the rationale behind my decision making. Some people argue that I shouldn't share my ideas online. The reason why I can share these ideas is because these are not simple buy and sell companies. You know, a lot of people who are on the entrepreneurship bandwagon don't have PhDs. They don't have the depth of knowledge and skill that come from decades of training in a specific field. And that is why I can talk about this stuff with the assurance, the confidence that nobody can copy what I'm doing, because you would have to do the same level of training and amount of training that I've done to do what I do. But that's gonna be covered in my business channel. We'll talk about that in future videos. That's it, guys. That's what's happening in this neck of the woods. Pasha Global 5-star Hotel, Turkine Condominiums, and here, Movie Town. Share this video with friends and family around the world. Let people know what's happening in the fastest growing country in the world, Guyana. Later!